how to install our permanent Redline and color stripe kits on your tires. You can install the kits with the tire already mounted to your car, but it does make it a little bit more convenient if you can set the wheel and tire flat on a table to get to it, and that's how we're going to show you to do it today. As far as the kit is concerned, you have everything that you need except for a couple items. You'll need to have some heavy-duty cleaner, and that's any kind of cleaner that you can buy in bulk at the box stores. It needs to be something, again, heavy-duty though, not Windex or some dish soap or something like that. It needs to be a strong, heavy-duty detergent. You'll need some rubbing alcohol, and you'll also need a pair of scissors and some masking tape, and we'll show you how all that goes together. Tires have all types of concentric circles around them. And you see there's all kinds of lines on this tire we can follow. We're going to follow this line right here. But if you don't have concentric circles, then what you want to do is take something like a ruler or a business card and just hold it in a specific place, use your thumb and forefinger, and then go all around the tire and put a mark with a Sharpie ever so many inches. And that gives you a guide to follow. I've already laid it out here, as you can see earlier, and we know that the stripe is long enough, we know it's going to fit, and so now the next step is to prep and clean the tire. As far as cleaning of the tire is concerned, the first thing you want to do is you want to liberally spray it down with that heavy-duty detergent like we talked about. And the heavy-duty detergent is going to strip away the oils and the mold release compounds and other things that are on the surface of that tire that are going to keep you from getting a strong rubber-to-rubber bond. So you're going to see that even though this tire was clean, we're going to pull all kinds of black contaminants off of it. You'll want to do this 2 or 3 times on the tire to get all those contaminants off. Then ready for our next step. Your kit's going to include sandpaper. This is a nice heavy grit. It's 150 grit. Even heavier would work, 100 grit or even 80 grit. But the purpose of the sandpaper is to give the rubber that was previously very smooth a little bit of a roughness, a little bit of a tooth is what they call it, to let the adhesive bite into. Now after this process is complete and we have it sufficiently scuffed all over, then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to apply some rubbing alcohol. And the rubbing alcohol is an important step for 2 reasons. One, it's going to get all the dust and the final residue off the tire, but it's also going to make sure that your cleaner didn't leave behind any residue. Also, take a little bit and pour it on the rag, and you want to clean the stripe as well. And actually, when I put this on, I'm going to move it so that the seam is right here in the top of the screen. The next step, though, is to start laying the first part of the stripe. And you're going to lay the stripe only about 4 or 5 inches at a time. And so the first application of adhesive will be fairly critical because it's more difficult because the stripe isn't already in place. Once the stripe is already in place, then the application of adhesive gets a little easier. Now also, you might notice that you need to have the ends really nice and square. The end on this is not perfectly square, so we're going to take our scissors and we're going to perfectly square up the end of that. Another thing I didn't mention, but we've already done it, is if you have any nibs along the tire surface, molding nibs, you need to pull those off or sometimes cut those off with an X-Acto knife, because you don't want those in the way. They're going to hold the stripe off the surface of the tire and make it where it doesn't want to bond. Now on a stripe like this is a 3/8 inch stripe, just one line of glue is all you really need. Anything more is going to be too much. If you happen to be putting the stripe on top of a lot of texture, then you may want to add a little bit more, but less is more really with the glue. It goes a long way. And I'm not adding more glue here, I'm just spreading it out on the surface. In just a minute, you're going to see how quickly this sticks. It sticks almost instantly. Add a little bit more here and there if you see it getting a little dry. Also make sure your curve is turned in the right direction, because they are curved, and if you put it on upside down, the curve's going to be going the wrong way, and you're not going to have as good a result. So I'm following right along that line right there. So I'm just taking my fingers and I'm pulling it right against it. You got a couple seconds to move it, but you don't have long, so you need to make sure you get it placed correctly. And that's why that line is important. And then you pull it back and you get ready for the next application of adhesive. Okay, so you can see we're almost done here, but there's a couple other pro tips that I'd like to share with you. First of all, especially if you're working with the vehicle already on with the tire already on the vehicle, you want to use masking tape every few inches, and so it's a good idea to tear them off and add a piece of tape every few inches. And that, again, if you're fighting against gravity, if it's sitting upright, then that helps everything stay down. And then also when you go to peel it off, it'll show you if the stripe is down really well or not. The other thing I want to talk about is this last area here and the seam that you want to be invisible. To make that seam invisible, what you want to do is you want to take that and those last few inches, and probably I should have left it back to about here. You want about 4 or 5 inches before you get to the seam. And you're going to cut it exactly even with the other side. All right. Now, actually, I'm a hair short there, but you're going to see how this is going to work out for us. Whenever you lay this stripe down, it stretches it. And you're going to see, as I lay it down, it's going to come and meet that other side. So let's get this last little bit of adhesive on here. And see, it's only been a few seconds, or a minute or so ago, and that stripe is already on there so well, it's almost wanting to rip. But you're going to put this last little bit of glue, and remember, don't use too much. One line will do it. And then actually go ahead and add a little bit right here on the edge, just with the edge of the nozzle. All right, we're going to lay this down. And as we do it, we're going to use our thumb. We're going to push it into place. And then you're going to see that seam all but disappear. And there you go. The stripe is now in place, and in an hour after you're letting the stripe cure, it'll be ready to drive on.